Gogol Ganguly is a young Bengali boy who lives in America. He is about to start going to school for the first time. His parents Ashok and Ashmi tell him that he will be called Nikhil when he is in school. Gogol has never been called Nikhil before and he cannot understand why his parents have made this decision. Gogol doesn't want a new name. He can't understand why he has to answer to anything else. Why do I have to have a new name? He asks his parents, tears springing to his eyes. It would be one thing if his parents were to call him Nikhil too, but they tell him that the new name will be used only by the teachers and children at school. He is afraid to be Nikhil, someone he doesn't know and who doesn't know him. His parents tell him that they each have two names, too, as do all their Bengali friends in America and all their relatives in Calcutta. It is a part of growing up, they tell him, part of being Bengali. They write it for him on a sheet of paper, ask him to copy it over 10 times. Don't worry, his father says to me and your mother, you will never be anyone but Gogol. At school, Ashok and Gogol are greeted by Secretary Mrs. MC Nab, who asks Ashok to fill out a registration form. He provides a copy of Gogol's birth certificate and immunization record, which MC Nab puts in folder along with the registration. This way, MC Nab leads them to principal's office. The name on the door says Candace Lapidus. Miss Lapidus is a tall, slender woman with short white blonde hair. She looks at the registration form and smiles kindly at the boy who is clutching his father's hand. Welcome to elementary school, Nikhil. I am your principal, Miss Lapidus. Gogol looks down at his sneakers. The way the principal pronounces his new name is different from the way his parents say it. The second part of it longer, sounding like heel. She bends down so that her face is level with his and puts her hand on his shoulder. Can you tell me how old are you, Nikhil? When the question is repeated and there is still no response, Miss Lapidus asks Mr. Ganguly, does Nikhil follow English? Of course he does, Ashok says. My son is perfectly bilingual. In order to prove that Gogol knows English, Ashoka does something he has never done before. He addresses his son in careful accented English. Go on, Gogol, he says. Tell Mr. Lapidus, how old are you? What was that? Miss Lapidus says. That name you called him, some with a G. Oh, that is what we call him at home only, but his good name should be is. He nods his head firmly. Nikhil. Miss Lapidus frowns. I am afraid I don't understand. Good name? Yes. Mrs. Lapidus studies the registration form. She has not had to go through this confusion with the order two Indian children in the school. She opens up the folder and examines the immunization record and the birth certificate. There seems to be some confusion, Mr. Ganguly. She says, according to this document, your son's legal name is Gogol. That's correct, but please allow me to explain that you want us to call him Nikhil. That is correct. Mrs. Lapidus nods. The reason being, that is our wish. I'm not sure I follow you, Mr. Ganguly, but do you mean that Nikhil is middle name or nickname? Many of the children go by nicknames here. On this form, there is a space. No, no, it's not middle name, Ashok says. He is beginning to lose patience. He has no middle name. The boy's good name is Nikhil. But Mrs. Lapidus presses her lips together and smiles, but clearly he doesn't respond. Please, Mrs. Lapidus, Ashoke says, it is very common for a child to be confused at first. I assure you he will grow accustomed. He bends down and his time in Bengali calmly and quietly asks Gogol to please answer when Mrs. Lapidus asks question. Don't be scared, Gogol, he says, raising his son's chin with his finger. You are a big boy now. Though Miss Lapidus does not understand a word, she listens carefully and hears that name again. Gogol. Lightly in pencil, she writes it down on the registration form. Ashoka hands the lunch box and a windbreaker in case it gets cold. He thanks Miss Lapidus. Be good, Nikhil, he says in English, and then after a moment hesitation, he is gone. When they are alone, Miss Lapidus asks, are you happy to be entering elementary school, Gokul? My parents want me to have another name in school. And what about you, Gogol? Do you want to be called by another name? After a pause, he shakes his head. Is that no? He nods yes. Then it's settled. Can you write your name on this piece of paper? Gogol puts up a pencil, grips it tightly, and forms the letters of the only word he has learned thus far to write from memory, getting the L backward due to nerves. What a beautiful penmanship you have, Miss Lapidus says. She tears up the old registration form and asks Miss MC Knapp to type up a new one. Then she shakes Gogol by the hand and they walk down a hallway painted with cement walls. She opens a door and Gogol is introduced to his teacher, Mrs. Watkins, a woman with hair in two braids, wearing overalls and clogs. Inside the classroom, it is a small universe of nicknames. Andrew is Andy, Alexandra Sandy, William Billy, Elizabeth Lizzie. It is nothing like the schooling Gogol. Parents have known fountain pens and polished black shoes and notebooks and good names, and sir or madam at young age. At the end of his first day, he is sent home with a letter to his parents from Mrs. Lapidus, explaining that due to their son's preference, he will be known as Gogol at school. What about the parents' preference? Ashmiya and Ashok wonder, shaking their heads. But since neither of them feels comfortable pressing the issue, they have no choice but to give in. And so, Gogol education begins. At the top of the sheet, scratchy, pale yellow paper, he writes out his pet name again and again, as well as the alphabet in capitals and lowercase. He learns to add, subtract, and to spell his first words. On the front covers of his textbook, he writes his name in pencil. In art class, his favorite hour of the week, he carves his name with paper clips into the bottom of clay cups and bowls. He pastes uncooked pasta on the cardboard and leaves his signature in a fat brush strokes below paintings. Day after day, he brings his creations home to Ashmiya, who hangs them proudly on the refrigerator door. Gogolji, he signs his work in the lower right hand corner as if there were a need to distinguish him for any other Gogol in the school.